Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today we hopefully wrap up our business here on Dargonis. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the dialogue, I enjoy the setup. But there's always going to be a part of me that yearns to return to the action. That said, first things first, we've got our colony project on Dargonis. And it's actually pretty straightforward. We're just deciding what to do with the ruins of that collapsed hive. Our first option is to simply rebuild it, which actually costs us money, but then gives us a nice spread of colony stats across the board. To convert it into a pleasure palace, which honestly comes with great rewards, but is definitely not Valin's style. Or to convert it into a space elevator to expedite trade with orbital ships. And while that one does come with a hit to security, it nets us a series of other nice rewards, both rare goods, as well as a slight boost to profit factor, and most intriguingly, a reduction on route cost? Though I'm not sure exactly how that's applied. Obviously, we're not going with the pleasure palaces, but I think we are going to go with the space elevator. Because yes, we need rare goods to complete this project, Capella Biologist, which grants access to one of the very few items in the game that can actively treat traumas mid-mission, which is just fantastic, especially since, of course, that's an infinite replenishing supply, not just a one-time thing. So while this is perhaps not the most iconoclastic of our potential options, I feel like it's a good blend. Especially since I have to imagine a space elevator would also require new residents and or employees. So that is yet more options for our homeless citizenry to pursue. Oh shoot, we actually have to... Okay. You know what? We'll go in with characters who are inherently familiar with various aspects of the Imperium, which means Yurliet's on the bench for this one. Let's just hope we don't run into anything we have to defuse. But I mean, it's the Administratum. What's the worst that could happen? He asked facetiously. Gentlemen? Am I going to have to wait in line? I treat every citizen as suspect until they have proved they can be trusted. Duly noted. Turn after turn, the unceasing stream of petitioners pours through the palace doors, while the weak-willed try everything they can to get ahead of the others. Lord Emperor, I'm so bored. I'd love to pick a fight with someone. Oh, okay, Oh. Greetings, Protocol. Welcome to the Palace of the Adeptus Administratum. Identifying your lordship. Please follow me. Okay. I was about to say, I was getting an idea of how they were going to set us up for a fight, but I guess not. Checking coordinates. Continue in this direction to reach your destination. Your visit has been logged.
Rise to the top or get left in the dust.
Not too many petitioners today. Last week they had to put on an extra shift to cope with the crowds. Yeah, rank doth have its privileges. Thank goodness I'm the Lord Captain. Honestly, I was really kind of expecting them to toss us into like a bureaucratic boondoggle as we got shuffled from one dystopian department to another. But the day's still young. Ellum, I know it hasn't even been a full cycle since I was appointed, but please cover for me with the Master of Seals for the Emperor's sake. I completely forgot about one extremely important seal. I'm going to run upstairs to do it. I don't think it'll take long. I'll be back within a couple of hours. The note is covered in a thick layer of dust, just like the table on which it lies. Well, that doesn't bode well. The towering piles of papers and endless shelves heaving with ledgers evoke special reverence for the laws of the God Emperor in the hearts of the servants of the Adeptus Administratum. Okay, now I think I see where this is going. There's our Master of Seal, so I'm guessing that missing seal is something important. Another note, sure. Chronicle of Case 68302720LA2987B4126. The parchment looks grease-marked and old, as though it has passed through many, many pairs of hands. Servant of the Imperium Elias Tantanel filed a declaration with the Adeptus Administratum that he is the sole heir of House Tantanel and the legal sovereign of the northern continent of the planet Ergona Rex. According to the submission, Elias Tantanel cannot exercise his right to his inheritance, as the wider family tree includes an individual who shares his full legal name. According to the petitioner, this individual is his great-grandfather. Given the loss of documents confirming the death of the second claimant to the inheritance, Elias Tantanel is petitioning for confirmation of his relative's death and permission for the enactment of his inheritance rights. Petition received. Preliminary review period, up to 15 Terran cycles. Forwarded for review. 23 Terran cycles, 4 turns from date of submission. Request for a copy of the death certificate of Elias Tantanel sent to the archive of the Departamento Munitorum. 28 Terran cycles, 2 turns from date of submission. Petition rejected. 39 Terran cycles, 11 turns from date of submission. Second petition sent to the archive. 44 Terran cycles, 4 turns from date of submission. Petition approved. 52 Terran cycles from date of submission. After 48 repeated submissions from Elias Tantanel, a second request was sent to the archive. 79 Terran cycles, 7 turns from the date of submission. Copy of death certificate of Elias Tantanel, great-grandfather to the petitioner, received. 84 Terran cycles, 6 turns from the date of submission. Documents forwarded for formulation of decision granting permission for the enactment of the inheritance rights of Elias Tantanel, sole heir of his house and legal sovereign of the northern continent of the planet Ergona Rex. 101 Terran cycles, 5 turns from the date of submission. Death of Elias Tantanel, recorded by servants of the Adeptus Administratum. Place of death, Q16. Wills, legacies, and inheritances. Waiting hall, Palace of the Adeptus Administratum, Dargonis. 106 Terran cycles, 2 turns from date of submission. Death certificate of Elias Tantanel sent to the archive of the Departamento Munitorum. 114 Terran cycles, 10 turns from date of submission. Petition for the enactment of inheritance rights following the death of Elias Tantanel and for the issuance of a copy of the death certificate received from the deceased's daughter, Eliza Tantanel. 114 Terran cycles, 11 turns from date of submission. You know, as someone who just went through like 18 months of extended probate, yeah, that sounds about right. Though in this particular case, I think that's just a fun anecdote. I don't think that'll actually have any bearings on what we're trying to do here. Inkwell of Livalia the Impartial, first master of the seals of the Coronis Expanse. Departamento Exacta Report. Auditing and reissuance of Great Tithe Payment documentation for GX75021 and GX76021. In the last 2,836 Terran cycles, entries mentioning planet GX75021, 284,356 found, including copies. Entries mentioning planet GX76021, 1 found, including copies. A full list, confirmed by the Adeptus Terra of all planetary objects located within the territory of the illustrious rogue trader dynasty of Von Valancius, was received 164 Terran cycles ago. After careful reconciliation of the data, it was found that planetary object GX76021 has not been included in the collection of the Imperial Tithe for the last 2,836 Terran cycles. In the same period, the planetary object GX75021 was included in the taxable sites, but did not pay its Imperial Tithe, thereby failing to uphold its sacred obligations to the Imperium. Subsequent analysis of archive documentation revealed the absence of documentation confirming the existence of planetary object GX75021, unlike planetary object GX76021, which was discovered in the files dated more than 2,836 cycles ago. Based on an internal inventory investigation, the Adeptus Administratum decrees that any mention of the planetary object GX75021 must be replaced with GX76021. The governor of planetary object GX76021 must pay the tithe for the preceding 2,836 Terran cycles within a period of no more than 50 Terran cycles, and in the event of non-payment of the tithe within the prescribed period, planetary object GX76021 will be seized for the needs of the Adeptus Administratum, and 95% of the population will be immediately subjected to servitude in perpetuitis for the benefit of the Imperium. Note: a precise reckoning of the tithe amount required in throne guilds is appended to this report. Note: an advisory letter has been sent to the Departamento Munitorum recommending that the Departamento conduct its own internal inventory investigation to determine whether planetary object GX76021 has fulfilled its sacred obligation to provide recruits for the Astra Militarum. Yeah, that seems about right. Sacred Scroll, the 1005 Admonitions of Master of Inventory Avasilis to the Adepts of the Administratum. Alright, think we're good? An ancient-looking woman in a voluminous robe peers at you critically through her ocular lenses when you descend into the bowels of her bureaucratic domain. Another noble bypassing the queue under the pretext of just wanted to ask? All you highborn ever want is just to ask. But what about protocol? That's what I'm asking. Who is going to follow protocol? Jay glances at you and whispers, "What, so I paid off a few clerks to let us skip the queue, Shireen? Your time is more important to me than any little formalities." "Very well, don't just stand there, you're here now. Or do you think the Master of Seals has nothing better to do than receive unexpected visitors?" The old woman beckons over a servo skull floating nearby. "Begin entry. Current hour, current turn, current cycle, 41st millennium." Metal manipulators immediately begin feverishly clacking, taking dictation. You, don't need to know who we are? Valen von Valancius, sole heir of rogue traitor Theodora von Valancius. May the throne's radiance guide her path on the other side. In a practiced move, the Master of Seals twists her magnifying ocular lens and examines the ledger in front of her. The sole person to publicly assert their claim, to be precise. Abelard Wersurian. The old woman directs her gaze over your shoulder. Seneschal and right hand of the now departed Theodora von Valancius, and of her now extant heir. The colorless eyes of the Master of Seals suddenly fix on Cassia. A lady navigator of House Orselio, whose name and deeds are unknown to me. She points her fingers at the old ledger. It says here that the von Valancius dynasty has owed your house 1 gold throne for 30 cycles. Here, take this, and I, at last, will mark the matter closed. Cassia stares in puzzlement at the gleaming coin in her hand. House Orselio thanks you for your service, Master of Seals. The old woman smacks her lips in satisfaction and nods curtly. Of course I know who is standing before me. It is my job to know. Jay shifts, deliberately putting her jeweled augmetic on display. Does that mean that my reputation has preceded me as well, esteemed Damar? No, I have received no reports about you. Ooh, ouch. So, this place is what makes up like half my capital world, huh? Gotta say, not exactly what I pictured. The Master of Seals raises her eyebrows in surprise. You're in the very heart of the palace of the Adeptus Administratum. Day and night, hundreds of thousands of prefects, ordinates, scribes, servants, and servitors carry out their duties to humanity and the von Valancius dynasty here, never setting foot outside its boundaries for decades at a time. But knowledge comes through comparison. There are entire worlds belonging to the Administratum, so this palace is but a humble cog in the blessed machine of the Imperium. Right, yeah, of course. And you're the one who's in charge of it. I am the law, and I oversee order in this section of the Coronis Expanse, as well as on worlds of the von Valancius Protectorate, in accordance with ancient covenants made with your ancestors. I hold the power to grant petitioners what they seek, and to punish criminals for failing to carry out the Imperium's will. Jay continues in a whisper. She's ancient enough herself. Look at her. She's a bona fide living mummy. Easy there, Jay. Yeah, this place is clearly a vital cog in the Emperor's works. Tell me more, O mighty Master of Seals. The Master of Seals tuts in displeasure. One would think the Protectorate's heir has no care for his tongue, if he is so willing to wag it to the point of blistering. However, I, despised servant of the Emperor that I am, do not possess the gift of unallocated time. Let us proceed to the matter of your application. Right, of course. My apologies. My companion here wishes to become an officially licensed Imperial merchant. The Master of Seals peers over her ocular lenses at Jay in disbelief. Then she looks at you. I take it you are her sponsor. In that case, you must submit a written application in conformity with template 404.01, as well as written permission for the processing and notarization of the personal data of your most sacred personage. Without it, I cannot issue Mistress Haydari. Mistress Haydari the form for collecting the seals required to obtain the Mercatum Tabulae Officiale, the certificate of an official trade representative. At these words, the saccharine smile drops from Jay's face. Seals? What seals? We will discuss that when Valen von Valancius has prepared the primary documentation. Abelard lets out a stoic sigh and rolls his eyes. You get the feeling that this is not his first personal interaction with the Administratum bureaucracy, nor is it his second. With all due respect, O mighty Master of Seals, you of course realize that as a rogue trader I'm a very busy person. Is there no way for us to bypass or expedite this process? Fear the wrath of the Immortal One, your lordship. What would become of your protectorate or even the Imperium itself if every person did what you are proposing? No, Lex Imperialis, Volume 249, Paragraph 18.2, Amendment of the 12th cycle of the previous millennium, clearly states, actions that circumvent the sacred law of the Imperium in pursuit of personal gain are a manifestation of human weakness, which is subject to eradication. Yeah, I'm starting to remember why I became a crime lord in the first place. Look, you're clearly knowledgeable about this whole system. What if I just pay you to take care of it for me? She mutters something waspishly under her breath, ignoring your question entirely. And if I don't do the paperwork, I assume it just doesn't get done? Yes, then I'm afraid Mistress Haydari will never receive her much-desired certificate, and I will be obliged to levy a fine against your noble name for wasting the valuable time of the Master of Seals. Shireen, I know the Azi have thwarted our plans and that unforeseen circumstances have arisen like... Never mind. So the esteemed Damar wants us to fill in a couple of forms. I will do that with great pleasure. No, it's fine. I'll take care of it. I have the computer brain after all. Might as well put it to use and make sure that this gets done right. No offense, but I'm fairly certain you made up like 60% of your backstory. The perfectly sharpened quill scratches pleasantly on the parchment, but for the first few minutes. The obfuscatory phrasing, footnotes, amendments. You are forced to write out the same details over and over about you, the Protectorate, Theodora von Valancius, Jay, and then also every living person who bears your family name. If you do not know all the required information, you must complete supplementary forms. 1 hour later, the Master of Seals nods in approval and stows the scroll into a tube labeled with your name. Next is the consent form for the processing and notarization of the personal data of your most sacred personage. The Master of Seals animatedly draws her Kagita quill across the surface of a data slate, paying no attention to you. Another hour later, the scroll is whipped away into another tube by the Master of Seals. Protocol executed. Application received. Processed. Approved. The Servo Skull scribe taps out each word after its mistress's pronouncement. Come on, esteemed Damar. What's that you were saying about seals? The old woman unhurriedly holds out a printed scroll to Jay. Here is your document, Mistress Haydari. Unfortunately, it does not yet have legal force. I can certify it as a sacred Mercatum Tabulae Officiale once it has received 2 seals of approval. They are easy to obtain. In the Imperium Court, Administratum Servitors have been handling such tasks for over 150 cycles. There is one such servitor here on Dargonis in the Rogue Trader's Palace. The second is duty-bound to keep the seal in the Telecos Epsilon system. Oh, that's Janus. That's like right around the cosmic block. Yeah, we can do that. I have to ask, why can't we just get these seals affixed here at the Administratum Palace? Isn't that what this place is for? According to Amendment 3C/8, implemented by Prefectus Estinia II of Dargonis, one of the seals must be kept in the palace of the ruler of the Von Valancius Protectorate, remaining a symbol of the unbreakable link between the Sacred Warrant and the Adeptus Administratum. The second seal... The ocular lenses perched on her nose click as she rifles through moldering scrolls with her wrinkled fingers. Is held in the Telecos Epsilon system in accordance with Decree OL-008/ZN. Unfortunately, after a fire 200 cycles ago, all that remains of the original decree is an addendum certified by an unknown adept with the initials AA. No instructions repealing this decree were ever received from Holy Terra. Therefore, the seal remains where it ought to be. Fair enough. And I have to do this personally? Decree 424, Clause 79, Amendment 8 of the Law on Certifying a Mercatum Tabulae Officiale with sponsorship of a bearer of the Warrant of Trade. The sponsoring rogue trader must be present at the placing and certifying of each seal. If this requirement is not met, the document will be deemed invalid. Right, got it. Find the servitors, get the seals. Seems straightforward enough. The Master of Seals nods with satisfaction. Please do return once you have prepared the documents. Yeah, I will certainly do that. I'm sure there's no way this will all go wrong. So one on Janus, that's got to be our man Quint. And then one on Dargonis, which we get from Kalentia. Okay. Yeah, let's do it. What could possibly go wrong? Mistress Haydari, my patience is not easily exhausted, but you are coming very close. I shall repeat myself again. No, I will not be issuing you any seal. Not in exchange for your honest word, nor for a bribe. I can see the family resemblance with Abelard now. You cannot see farther than your own nose, my dear Clementia. It wasn't a bribe, it was a gift. Now about that seal. Let the rogue trader decide. Your lordship, I apologize for this ugly scene, but might I ask that you rein in Mistress Haydari and put a stop to her inflammatory actions toward me? As the Exalted One is my witness, Shireen, I tried everything I could to spare you any unnecessary headache over the seals of the Mercatum Tabula Officiale. I even showed this aide with a temper worse than a sandstorm the certificate with your signature. But your Chancellor merely kept batting me away with her flail of baseless denials. I suspect that the reason for this has nothing to do with my humble personage. Clementia purses her lips and glowers at Jay. Oh no, this isn't about me at all. Jay narrows her eyes as she peers into Clementia's face, until the latter finally looks away. I see. Well, Chancellor, will you tell us yourself? Or should I help you? And here we go. Clementia, I have needed this seal, and I was told that you're the one who has it. Is that not the case? I am afraid that my words may anger your lordship. Clementia lowers her head in shame, as if offering it up to be removed from her shoulders. The seal you are looking for was lost over a quarter of a century ago. Her ladyship Theodora von Valancius ordered a new one to be delivered from the Imperium, but as you well know, we are a long way away from Holy Terra, and with warp storms ravaging the Coronis expanse, we have been unable to receive a replacement to this day. Right. And the person who lost the original, I assume they're no longer available for questioning? Rest assured, Theodora von Valancius ordered to have the malefactor dealt with accordingly. Servitude in perpetuis, your lordship. He now performs his duties to the Imperium without reservation or error. Or the ability to answer basic questions, yeah. Figures. However, she refers to her data slate. One of the worlds under Caligos Winterscale's rule, like Dargonis, was granted the honor of keeping the sacred sigils of the Administratum. The archives of House von Valancius mention 3 systems that are presently under the control of House Winterscale. Those would be the Forgotten Twins, Langren's Belt, and the Nameless Star. I am confident that the Administratum Palace is located on one of the planets there. We have a better chance of finding the seal in the pocket of some rich collector or fence than on a remote world owned by one of your rivals, Shireen. I suggest we make contact with any traders we may encounter in our travels. People in my line of work tend to have a good eye for such things. There is every possibility that someone has waited their whole life to return the great relic to its rightful owner. Okay, so another potential option. Interesting. Thank you, Clementia. I think I can take it from here. I am always at your service. The only fences that spring to mind are Riza or possibly Vladame, both on footfall. And we're headed that way anyway, because we have to swing by Janus next. where I imagine the other seal will also be MIA. So just as well, I suppose, that'll give us a full idea of the various tasks ahead of us. I don't think we've seen any of these sectors except for possibly Langren's Belt. Anything else from you? No. Okay. But we do have to come back to her once we have the seal. That's good to know. Okay, well, let's hit Janus next. We'll see what other shenaniganery we have to navigate. And yeah, this was much more along the lines of what I was expecting when we first embarked on this Administratum adventure. I'm actually pretty into this. Aside from just being, generally dry and amusing. And not as bleak as our usual grimdark flavor of adventure. It also gives us a good opportunity to advance our colony projects and set up some new routes. Which is all stuff we'd have to do anyway. Might as well do it now. Ultimately, my general thought here is to use our navigation points to set up like a wheel with Dragonus at the center and the spokes leading to each of our major settlements or trade hubs. Foulstone, Kiabagama, Janus. Footfall Station? Oh yeah, and then off to the right there you can see two of Kaligos Winterscale sectors. Langren's Belt and Nameless Star. We'll put a pin in those for later. Oof, more expensive than I thought it'd be. Okay, that's fine. Once we get to Janus, I think it's just a 2-hop from there to Footfall. I think we can live with that. Then we have Viabo 6 up here. Nameless Star, Forgotten Twins, Langren's Belt. Oh, that's all 3 of his sectors. Okay. Yeah, this works out just fine. Let's hit Janus, stamp out another problem. Oh, I'll also swing by the rebel camp while we're here. See if Moran is feeling chatty again. I actually did try going to talk to him right after the thing with Vistenza, but he was nowhere to be found, so I think I ultimately ended up cutting that out of that particular episode. Since, of course, it was just us going through like 3 loading screens and getting nothing accomplished. Speaking of which... Quint? Attilius Quint nervously tugs at the hem of his dusty cloak, and bows respectfully. Your lordship, the subjects of Janus welcome you. What cares have brought you to our humble world on this occasion? Well, I'm trying to get my associate here a merchant license, and I was told you have one of the seals I need. Please tell me you actually have it. The secretary nods energetically. Of course, it would be an honor to assist the rogue trader. Wait but a few minutes, your lordship, and your humble servant will have your seal ready. Oh, great, yeah, fantastic. Jay's expression is pensive as she twists a lock of her hair around her metal finger. Interesting, Shireen. I assumed we would be dealing with servitors, but no. Some places in your domain still have this work being performed by people, of flesh and blood. I beg your pardon? What's this about servitors? I have faithfully performed my sacred duties to the Imperium and the Administratum all my life, and guarding the seals is part of that. And after half a century, not a single seal damaged. I keep them in a special case, and I oil the handles every month, as the rules stipulate. Easy, Quint. Jay shrugs. I'm merely repeating the words of the Master of Seals on Dargonis. Servitors have replaced an entire category of lowly bureaucrats assigned to the Von Valancius planets. Oh, around 10 years ago now? Jay, stop. Stop talking. But after 70 years of service and not a single directive, not from Holy Terra or from Dargonis, a complete breakdown in communication. What a farce! What an insult against all processes! Scarlet patches blossom on the secretary's pale face. But this is easily remedied. If the Administratum requires such a servant, then I will immediately begin preparations for servitorization. The will of the Lex Imperialis is supreme. Quint, buddy, easy now. This really isn't necessary. Jane nervously licks her lips. She clearly did not expect this response to her remark. Attilius, I do not think the Exalted One has any particular desire to see you lobotomized and turned into a mindless clanking ghoul just because someone somewhere changed a law. She's absolutely right, Attilius. And that aside, as the resident rogue trader, I much prefer the personal touch of having a passionate, dedicated employee like you, as opposed to a soulless, mechanical abomination. I'm happy to have you continue serving your purpose, the purpose you've served for the past 70 years. Exactly as you are. You're fine. You're fine. Everything's fine, bud. I just need that seal. We good? After lots of prevarication, Attilius's hunched figure sags. Of course, you are right. I will continue to serve Janus and the Von Valancius Protectorate as before. And today I will dispatch a request for copies of edicts issued by the Imperium over the last 50 years. Who knows what else we have missed here on Janus? I mean, you might also be several decades behind on tithes, but one thing at a time. Jay lets out a breath, obviously relieved. That is wonderful, Attilius, just wonderful. Just don't go poking at your eyes with a long needle. At least until you receive a direct order to do so from your precious Administratum. Here you are. The Secretary proffers the sealed certificate with care. And may the Emperor bless your path. Thanks, Attilius. Apologies for the existential crisis. So, how have things been going on Janus since the whole business with Viat? I see you've got Batman's Rogues Gallery moving in. Has anyone aside from the Scarecrow there showed up yet? Or maybe this is more of an Oz thing. 10 men and cowardly lions? Besides the Xenos, who have settled in our forests and periodically frighten the people, everything is calm, your lordship. We have managed to come to an understanding of sorts, although not without concessions on our part, in particular regarding the placement of our new agri-complexes. The Emperor as my witness, Janus will continue to serve the Von Valancius dynasty, but not in precisely the same way as before. I mean, given the way things were being run before, that's probably for the best. Speaking of which, how's the local flora and fauna doing? Not still trying to eat everyone, I hope. Oh, yes, the flora of Janus can take your breath away, while the fauna can inadvertently kill you. Okay, so not much improvement in that arena, but that's fine, baby steps. Thank you, Quint. Keep up the good work. Janus is always honored to receive your lordship. Yeah, right back at you, bud.
Let us not dawdle.
Now, is our tech priest friend back around? He vanished right after the business with Vistenza. And sadly, it does appear that he's not back. Which is a shame, because there were some things I would have liked to follow up with him on. But that's fine. Which I guess means it really is just Quint at this point. Unless Moran has once again deigned to honor us with his presence.
Is there money to be made?
One sec, I'll give it a quick peek. Nope, still MIA. As are all the rebels. The camp lies empty. So I guess for now, we move on. We'll hop on over to Footfall. Or we'll do this. Lord Captain, Lady Orselio was asking where she could find you. I sent her to your study. You can expect her there shortly. Okay, yeah, sure. I've always got time for a touch of Cass. Lord Captain, could you spare a moment to discuss a personal matter? Cassia's less than graceful movements betray her anxiety. She lowers her eyes slightly and fidgets with a satin handkerchief as she awaits your answer. Of course, Lady Cassia. You know, you don't have to call me Lord Captain. You can just call me Valen. I can, but I will not. I would not wish to overstep any boundaries around anyone, let alone the rogue traitor himself. Fair enough. So what can I help you with? You said it was something personal? I am rather embarrassed to ask about something like this, but last I was here I noticed a curious tome on the shelves of your personal library. A rather heavy-looking volume bound in a worn, gilded cover with the symbol of the Adeptus Ministorum on it. Martyrdom of St. Visteria, I believe it was. Cassia waves her hand in the direction of the shelves, and the satin handkerchief slips out of her fingers. Oh! Oh, indeed. So that's what we're doing here, is it? Cassia takes a quiet breath of frustration, but it does not escape your notice that her ruby eyes are intently observing your reaction. Gosh, whatever shall we do? The lady's handkerchief has fallen to the floor. Thankfully, we just happen to have read a book about this exact scenario. Here, let me get that for you. The soft fabric tickles your lips, and the subtle scent envelops you like a thin veil. Cassia accepts the handkerchief with a nod of gratitude, and for the first time, gives you a look filled with warmth and affection. Thank you, Lord Captain. I believe I should return to my chambers now. So soon, but what about your book? She graces you with a half-hidden smile, and swiftly leaves the study. Oh, she is adorable. And the over-the-top music really helps sell it, too. Man, you know, I want to give Jay and Yurliette a chance as well, but, I mean, how do you compete with that? And, of course, it doesn't help that, you know, you meet Cassia so much earlier in the story than you meet either of those other two. That said, I don't think we actually have to lock in our decision until, like, Act 4, so we'll still dabble. We'll dabble. I'm just not sure I ever see anyone else putting up any real competition. At least, not per my personal tastes, obviously. Yurliette's an interesting character. Jay, too, but Cassia just makes me smile. And on we go. Oh, and something just finished. Let's check that out. I bring woeful news, Lord Captain. Prelate Hectarchius of the Order of the Hammer has passed away. Immediately after the launch of the orbital Voxspire, he entered the halls of recording and, having sat on the command throne, was granted a vision. For over 3 days, Prelate Hectarchius preached about Saint Cognatius being reincarnated in a body made from the saint's own holy relics. This spiritual feat depleted Prelate Hectarchius' strength, and he peacefully departed for the Emperor's throne shortly after the sermon's conclusion. The Order's elders believe this to be a sign that St. Cognatius' relics, currently stored on planets throughout the expanse, must be brought together. The Order is preparing for the election of a new prelate, under whose guidance it will undertake this holy mission. The majority of the votes are divided between Prioress Lugnalia, well known for her fervor, and the merciful cellarer Tychon. The minority of the Order sees the oikonomous Nigmus, a humble and reasonable man, as their prelate. Nothing unusual about Hectarchius' death? No signs of foul play? No, I'm afraid not. The esteemed Hectarchius began his service as a battle missionary, and has long grown weary of the peaceful life befitting a man of his status. He yearned for a worthy spiritual feat, and when presented with the chance to serve as the voice of a saint, he gave what little strength remained. When he died, he was exhausted, but content. I see. Well, good for him. So how exactly is the Order looking to carry out this new holy mission? We're not talking crusade here, are we? The Conclave aims to procure all the relics that once belonged to St. Cognatius, all that can possibly be procured. Given that the saint is a legendary figure, many items in the Coronis Expanse have an alleged connection to him. However, it seems unlikely that any of the relics' owners will be eager to part with them. The answer to the question of how the Order of the Hammer is going to retrieve them depends on the identity of its next prelate. Right, of course. Which does pretty much immediately rule out the fervor-filled prioress in favor of the merciful brother. But please, tell me more about our potential replacements. Prioress Lugnalia was converted by Hectarchius on one of the heathen worlds. She then served as his bodyguard for many years and eventually became the protector of the Order's reliquary and the leader of its military branch. As for Brother Tychon, he is an aristocrat by birth. He had an excellent education and could have lived in luxury had he not renounced secular life for the sake of ascetic vows. He is intelligent, thoughtful, well-read, and, most importantly, genuinely merciful. I mean, yeah? Sure sounds like we're going for Tychon here. Educated, merciful, possible diplomatic connections. Few things can be said about the oikonomous Nigmus. He has never been famous for his prowess in battle or his sermons, but the monastery has never wanted for anything on his watch. He is a most reasonable and unobtrusive individual. Enigmas. So we really are collecting Batman villains. Any comments from the peanut gallery? I have sympathy for Prioress Lugnalia. Let her meet with Reverend Hieronymus on footfall. Should he accept her as a worthy leader, we ought to support her. Yeah, Argenta, I'm thinking we might just, want to keep ourselves distanced from anything related to Hieronymus, but, gosh darn it, thanks for being here. A careful and sensible economist sounds like a safer bet to me than a fanatic or a clever aristocrat. The voices say he has a few paltry secrets, and knowledge of those secrets guarantees us his loyalty. Sure, yeah, that's also a route we could go. Blackmailed pawn. We'll circle back on that, maybe? Anyone else? Brother Tychon. He and I have met back when he was called Tychon Drivestem. He wasn't a monk back then. He was a grandson and heir to Urbend, governor of Dargonis. An honorable young man with a spark in his eyes. His ascension would mean much to the drive stems. Interesting. Okay, well that's very useful information. Thank you, Abby. Yeah, I think that clinches it. I mean, I was already leaning towards Tycon anyway, but now we would also have drive stems somewhat beholden to us, possibly offsetting all the slights we tossed pretty haphazardly at him during our first meeting. Well, I've got to say, Abby, that sounds like our man. Good call. Make the appropriate arrangements and contact House Drivestem. Let them know about the honor we're extending their house. Will do. I bet Urban never thought the boy would be of any use to the family. Now we'll have to endure a decade of him boasting about the Drivestem blood that always strives for great heights. Tch. Brother Tycon has been chosen as the prelate of the Order of the Hammer. Peaceful emissaries departed from Foulstone from many planets to form alliances and reinforce spiritual ties with the holders of St. Cognatius's relics. This diplomatic mission will undoubtedly require sizable financial support. Not like running a military crusade would have been any cheaper. House Drivestem has been informed of the honor granted to their family, and has humbly requested to cover all expenses related to Prelate Tycon's endeavors. And there you have it. In fact, I'd say this is markedly cheaper than running a military crusade. Fantastic. I think I actually feel pretty good about that one. Ooh, we can do the Maglev Railway now. Wait, hold on. Does that mean... It does. Our space elevator is complete. So -1 security, +1 efficiency, and a bevy of other minor gains. Most notably, that +1 mechanisms. Oh, but that means... Shoot, the Maglev Railway is not the one that grants us trauma kits. That's a separate project on Janus. So we have two potentially appealing projects, but only enough resources to actually get one of them started. Plus, of course, an assortment of other potential projects to pursue. This one just seems to give us people with no cost attached. That's weird. Oh, I see why. Okay, right. Yes, of course, because at least a few of the other projects here involve converting people into other resources. Right. Yep, that is very much 40k. Yeah, I'm not really sure I see Valen embracing any of those, but I will at least take them under consideration. Ooh, okay, and then this one. This one would boost our security and give us a giant bump on Imperial Navy rep. Plus a crit bonus versus pirates and an escort ship. Not to mention a big pile of weapons. That actually sounds pretty fantastic. Super cheap, too. We could easily afford that. The only downside being that it would block out... Oh, I see. Yeah, the pirate alternative. That does make sense. Interesting. And then, of course, that's not even getting into the one on Janus, Capella Biologist, which I do feel like we should prioritize, even though it would block out Maglevs, at least temporarily, since we want those trauma kits. You know what? We're past time anyway. I feel like this is a good place to call it. We'll hit the pause button for now. I'll take stock of all of our new potential projects, parse out our resources, figure out what we're doing there. And we will pick up here next time, as we get a bunch of new projects going, and continue seeking Jay's seal of approval. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Revenant, Alois, CrowkingLoR, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, V23, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
I think we've said all there is to say on this topic.